Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to get started pretty quickly today just because we have a lot of great information that we're going to go over on the presentation today. Thanks for joining us this morning for today's Tech Talk on email and calendar quick tips for everyone. I'm Christina Bella with the Northwestern IT Communications team and have with me today Brian Suarez from TSS. Before we get started with the presentation today, if you're having any trouble hearing me or Brian, please make sure that your volume's adjusted accordingly. If you have headphones or speakers, sorry about that. Also make sure that you're using a wired connection if that's available. You've closed any applications running in the background that are connected to the internet, including email, any other web browsers you might have open. We're going to do a lot of screen sharing and demonstration today. So that'll just give you the best connection during the presentation. If you have a question anytime, you can type it into the Q&A box down here, and we'll answer those questions throughout the talk. After the presentation, we'll also give you an opportunity to download the PowerPoint that we're going to go through. Again, primarily we're going to do some screen sharing and demonstration, but there's some great links and tips in there that you might want to reference later. We're also recording this, so it will be available to view. We'll send a link to everyone that registered. And I also do want to mention really quickly, if you have a colleague or anybody who's interested in this and couldn't attend today, we're actually having a second session next week, and that information is on the Tech Talk website if you're interested in registering or want to share that. We'll send that link out as well. Let's see, and we're actually, because it looks like most people answered poll questions when you registered for this event, we're actually going to skip some introductory poll questions and get right into the presentation. So I'll hand it over to Brian.
Thank you, Christina, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this Tech Talk today. So basically the agenda, we're going to go over some tips on the new version of Outlook. According to the poll that Christina did last time, there are a significant number of people in the community that are still running an older version of Outlook, so Outlook 2010 for Windows, Outlook 2011 for Mac, and then Outlook 2013 for Windows. Now, I'll be showing you some good features and things like that, but I kind of just want to do an overview of what we have to offer. So we'll go into that. We'll also go into some of the features of the smartphone Outlook app, as well as OWA, which is the Outlook Web Access on your browser, and just some general recommendations. And we'll also do a Q&A at the end if we have time.
Yeah, and again, people can ask questions throughout as well.
Please do. Okay, so Outlook 2016. This is one of the wonderful times in Microsoft's products life cycles where the year of the product matches with the year of the current year. So it's good that we're able to offer it for Northwestern. It has the same essential features as previous versions, but it has some notable improvements, which we'll go over. The big improvement would be performance and stability with Exchange 2013. So Exchange is the mail system that we run here at Northwestern, also known as the Collaboration Services group. They run that. So the Outlook 2016 app actually exists on all platforms. We have Mac, PC, and mobile for iOS and Android. It has a universal look, and what I mean by that is Microsoft's intention is you should be able to use any device and have the same functionality throughout your experience. So I'll kind of go into that. Also, there's some touchscreen capabilities in there and cloud integration. So we are going to do a poll, and what I'd like for you all to do is, here are two versions of Outlook 2016. Which one is the Mac and which one is Windows? So
I'll give you all a second to answer that question. I'll pull that up there.
As you can see, they look very similar, but this is just to kind of get an idea to see.
Just to kind of point out, yeah, they are quite similar.
Yeah. So
I'll give people a second to answer. All right, great. So answer is, which one was which?
So the Mac version is on the top left, and the Windows is on the bottom right. And the big difference is really just, if you look all the way at the top bar, you'll see that the The X is on the right-hand side for the Windows, and then the Mac is on the left. But
So we have some good observant people.
absolutely, yeah. So, and this is just kind of to prove that, yeah, it is very similar in the interface. So there's not a big change that you experience. So I'll move on.
Also nice for a presentation like this, where a lot of the tips are going to be similar across Mac and Windows.
Yeah, definitely, and I'll briefly talk about that. So how do you upgrade to Outlook 2016? So we are going to always recommend you contact the IT Support Center. We're here for you. We can look you up in our ticketing system and give you all the assistance that you need, point you in the right direction. If you're a tech-savvy person and you like to do things your own way and you have the permission from your IT group to do so, you can navigate to our Northwestern IT webpage and you can download Office 2016. Now, I will suggest to consult your departmental IT support because there are different bit versions. If you don't know what that means, then you definitely want to talk to your IT, but there's 32-bit and 64-bit. So we have both of those available for download, and it's just a wizard. You walk through it, it installs it for you. So I'm going to go into some tips and features of the Windows version. Okay, so first of all, here is the Windows version of Office 2016. So as you can see here, we have a nice blue ribbon here. That is changeable. We can modify that. But one of the cool features about this is this Tell Me bar up the top. So Windows 10 and Windows Mobile and a lot of the operating systems nowadays use search queries for navigation. So if you wanted to, let's say for example, set your automatic replies, you just click up in this little light bulb here and just go auto. There it is, automatic reply right there. Let's say you just want to say show flagged mail. Okay, there you go. You can click it right there and it shows the flagged mail. Cool. So there are a lot of different features that you can play around in here. So we can go back to the slides. So another feature would be to compare multiple calendar dates at once. So I can briefly show that. So when you're looking at your inbox here, and you go down to the bottom left-hand corner, you have all your different icons. You have mail, you have calendar, you have people, and you have your tasks. This is a feature that existed in 2013. And you roll over this calendar view, you can see some of, well, as you can see, I'm doing the tech talk, and I have lunch, then I have a project search meeting, and so you can briefly see a snapshot of all the meetings that you have. This would only work for your personal calendar. It does not work for shared calendars at this time. But let's go into the calendar view here. So if there's any administrative assistants out there that are watching this, you may be asked to manage multiple calendars. That it can definitely be a feat, especially with today's global things that are going on all the time. So let's say, for example, I wanted to pick, I was given 3 available dates that somebody can meet. So let's go to the day view. This is going to look at today. But then, if I hold the Control key and select dates from the left-hand side here, as you can see, those dates will then show up alongside, and they will allow you to see, well, what's happening across these dates. And if you were seeing somebody's calendars and you wanted them to be integrated, you can see kind of a little more of the visibility of their availability. So that is kind of a quick tip there. As you know, we always have the scheduling assistant. So when you go to a new meeting and you go to your scheduling assistant, you can add all of the folks that need to be in the meeting there, and you can see a side-by-side demonstration of all that. So,
but yeah, the selecting multiple days is great. It seems like if that kind of can either quickly eliminate or help you kind of narrow down some dates.
Definitely.
Rather than having to go through the scheduling assistant. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So we've seen some people adopt this pretty quickly. Now the one I'm going to touch on this a lot, but Northwestern Box, right? People have talked about it. It seems to be slightly integrating people's business and things like that. But one of the great things we see with the new Outlook products from Microsoft that you're able to integrate all sorts of cloud storage. So let's go and take a look at this, for example. So let's say I wanted to send an email, and I wanted to send it to Christina. Now, if I wanted to attach a file, okay, so it's not popping up here, but you can go into the Office add-ins, or I'm sorry, you go into File, you have to set it up first. So I'll show you how to do that from your main screen. Oh, so now my machine is is giving me some issues here. Of course. Okay, so minimize that. Go to File, and then you go to Open. I believe Office account. Nope, Connected Services. So we'll put a demonstration and put instructions on there, but in this services here, you can do different storage. You can do a Microsoft account or a OneDrive. There's more flexibility on the mobile app, so I can show that once we get into it. But you have the ability to attach those documents into an email instead of getting them from your computer and then adding them into there. You can do it straight from your cloud storage. So I'll touch on that a little bit more when we go down. So that's a little bit of the Windows features. If you guys have any other, one-off questions on how to do something, or you just have a general question, please feel free to answer or type it into the chat there.
So Brian, here's a great question someone asked about actually negotiating between staff who use Outlook and students, particularly who are on Google. Any recommendations for kind of best practices on that?
Yes, that seems to be a common request, is to be able to have synchronicity between those two calendars. Unfortunately, the Google framework and the infrastructure does not mesh well with Exchange. So, for example, if you wanted to invite maybe a postdoc to a staff meeting or someone that was in the academic world into a business type meeting, really the best way to do it is to decide which system you'd like to use. So I've seen people create Google accounts just so they can interact with the students. And so in terms of the integration, it's still kind of fuzzy, only because it's Microsoft and Google. So I believe in the future we will see more integration. I mean, we do see Google Drive right now, so I mean they're just probably taking their time to do it, but no quick way at this time, unfortunately.
So I will say Box actually is nice, at least for file sharing between Google users and people on university, faculty and staff, because it's easy to work with either from either system, and Box has integration with Google, so you can use Google Docs, Calendar, stuff like that. So for file sharing, Box is actually a great option for that part. Yeah,
it's just the calendaring part is still the challenge. So we're working closely with Microsoft and Apple and Google to try and get those things squared away for our user base. So okay, so that's kind of just a brief overview of the Windows features and just some of the tips there. Now, I am a Mac user and I support Macs and Windows, but I'm very impressed with the new Mac client. So the first thing that you notice is if you were coming from a Outlook 2011, this is what it looks like. It literally is so similar to the Windows, which is this one here, that once this was released, we saw people adopt it immediately. We know that the performance and stability of this client is totally better than 2011. We don't recommend that people use Apple Mail with Exchange or calendars, and I'll touch on that again. But this is what it looks like, and so it's very similar to the Windows version. You don't get some of the peak functions and things like that, but in terms of synchronicity, it's very good. It connects to the Exchange server, and you get quick syncing. So one of the things that I've noticed that is helpful for me is the address book has been enhanced. So if I were to look up Kevin Osler, I'm sure you all may know who he is. Go to Osler here. So if I click on here, and I can double click on his name, the contact card is very similar to the Windows, so you get different organization and details. And there's a map feature, you can forward the contact card. So we've just seen some interest in that. Distribution lists can also be searched from here, and you get a full list. So that's definitely a feature. Now, attachment previews. This is something that's pretty popular for most people that use Outlook. They go ahead and click. So I think we're seeing something on here as a test. So instead of double clicking on this, opening up Adobe and doing it that way, you can just click preview, and it'll show up right here. I can click open with Adobe Acrobat Pro, but it doesn't see.
So you can kind of get a sense of something you can respond to right away.
Yeah, and the Windows version, I believe it just, if you come in here, so here's the Windows side, and if I go back to yours, I don't know, here's this one.
Yeah, there it is.
So this is, okay, so there's no preview, but if you had, you would have Adobe hooked up here, it would show right into this, in this view here. So, okay, so now moving over to what my favorite is the iOS app. So I'm sure lots of you see the demand of mobile working, things like that. Well, the good news is that Microsoft has not only made all of their Office products like Word and Excel and PowerPoint free with a Northwestern account. You can log in. And we may do another Tech Talk going more into detail of these apps because there's so many features. So what I can do is I can actually do a demonstration. Great. So
and I mentioned too, I think when we kind of asked people when they registered, I think we had about half the people are familiar with the mobile app for Outlook specifically. Half aren't using it now. So hopefully this will kind of give you a good sense of what it can be used for, some additional features.
Yeah, and great. From what I've seen, the Android app is very similar to this here. So
it's also a nice touch.
Yes, definitely, because like I said, it's this universal look. So here's the first big feature, security. That has been a big buzzword going on. Now, if you use the Mail app on your iPhone, you won't get this functionality because it has it natively. You have a Touch ID or a security passcode. This encapsulates it into the app, so you don't have to put a code, although we suggest you do. And if your phone gets lost, we can just, the app can just wipe itself. And so go ahead and I'll do Touch ID for here. And here is the view of Outlook. A few things. One thing I've noticed is it accents your flagged items. Notice that it's yellow. Even though it shows a little flag on the side there, you still get some emphasis. Okay, this is a flagged item. I need to get some attention to this. We see that on the Mac version of Outlook as well. Not sure about the Windows one, but we can definitely request it. In this filter button up here, you can filter them quickly. So if you flag a lot of items, you can just click flag, and there's all my flagged items.
Nice.
Unread mail. Sometimes you have a ton of email and you just don't want to go back and read them. And you can go to unread. There's one right there. Now, another is the swipe functions. So if I wanted to quickly, just swipe this away, you can just unflag it by swiping. So it's utilizing these touch features. The calendar view, very detailed.
And that's an improvement as well, right?
Definitely. There's been a lot of concern about calendar meetings and synchronization on Apple devices. I think that we see this weekly. People say, I put a calendar here, something didn't sync, and why is that? So we actually recommend, well, if you download the Outlook app, you're going to see better performance on that. Great. Let's go back to these points here. So you can see mail, calendar, and people all in one app. So you don't have to go back and forth between your different apps on your phone. This is kind of, part of the reason why they developed it in this way is you want to keep it all in one. Okay. Now, there's integration with cloud storage. This is definitely something I have found extremely useful. So let's go back into the app. Let's go to Mail. So now I'm going to send Christina a box file that I have. So I'll go to tap on Compose a New Message. I'll type in Christina. Now, if I go over to this little paperclip there, I can add a OneDrive, a Dropbox, Google Drive, and I can see the documents and import them directly from here. So if I go down to my box here and go to See All, here are all my box folders. So I can just go ahead and go to this club Tech Talk. There's the PowerPoint presentation. And here's something that you should be cognizant of when you're sending is, do you want to insert a link, a hyperlink of this file, or do you want to attach the file itself? So if people are going to be collaborating on this, you probably want to send the box link. But just because I'm sending this to Christina, I just want to send it to her, I'm going to do attach file. And say, here you go. Go to autocorrect, send away. It's perfect. And we know that Box is still new, and people are starting to learn more about it. But take a look at the other tutorials that we have.
We did a tech talk recently about that. We had some great tips on it.
Yeah, and so the more you use Box, you're already using Outlook. Maybe this is something that you find useful for yourself.
So Brian, we had two other questions come in. First, kind of related to the file sharing. Someone asked if they can use their Northwestern email to set up an account for business using a business OneDrive.
Good question. I'm not specific on it, but I'm aware that there is the ability to use your NetID. Okay. And so upon activation of the iOS apps, you will be asked to activate it. I believe it thinks you want to use a 365 account, but then there's an option to type Exchange. If you visit the Collaboration Services page, they have more information about that. But yes, there is the ability to use your Exchange mailbox, your Northwestern account, to create a OneDrive.
And that actually segues perfectly into the next question, which was basically the difference between Office 2016 and Office 365. Someone was looking at the website and just wasn't sure what the distinction was there.
And it gets confused. Well, it's confusing to see that they're two separate products, but really, down to the essence of it, they're kind of the same. But from a technical point of view, I'll explain. So Exchange is a proprietary mail server. We own the servers. They sit in 2020 Ridge over there in the data center. 365 is a cloud-based solution. So even though we retain ownership of the mail and things, the physical hardware isn't on our campus. It's over somewhere in probably Utah, I would imagine, or wherever their data center is.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers that question. So they are very similar. It's just 365 is more for organizations who can't invest in a centralized mail server like Exchange.
So if people wanted to use, so I think the Office 365 stuff we have on our website, and I'm just checking really quickly. So that's actually something that people can use for personal use as well, correct?
Yeah. Okay. And so you could have a 365 account with a OneDrive and use your personal, and you can still hook that up to the Outlook app. So it's kind of just seeing what the need is, and because we do recommend Box, and because it has this integration with Outlook, it's very seamless to kind of do that. So. Do you have any other questions?
That's good for now.
Okay, so I'll just kind of move on to this detailed calendar view because, again, we see people use their phones more and more for calendaring. I'm going to just show you a brief example. So,
and obviously since this is iPhone, this also works on.
It does, yeah. It's very similar, and I just believe that we like to use the word watered down or light, right? Just because the main functionality is there, but some of the little bells and whistles aren't. So. As you can see, there's little markers there on each one of my events. And so, for example, this Tech Talk one, the marker indicates that that's a resource in Northwestern. You have a meeting place. And then I can also see the detail of who's accepted the meeting. Now, it looks like he had canceled this meeting, but he was using a distribution list, and you can see all of the attendees right from here. This is something you did not have in previous versions of anything. In the native Mail, Apple Mail on your phone, you didn't get this functionality. Now, creating an event, I can push and hold and just have it right there and just say test event. I can add people from here too, so I just go Christina Bello. None. You cannot add her as an optional attendee. You can just add that. You can set alerts. If you have a different calendar. Now, I'm going to stop right here and mention this, is that what this shows is that if you had multiple Exchange accounts, this doesn't apply to mailboxes that you have full access to. So there may be some folks out there that manage a calendar for a department or for another individual. At this time, we can't get those calendars to sync in here. It's just if you had a separate Exchange account, which we're not structured in that way to provision secondary Exchange accounts. So you would only see this, so you wouldn't really touch on that, but then I just go ahead and go save, and it shows up right there. And because Christina is an attendee, she's got her little avatar there, CB Christina Bello. And I have other ones that also show those views, but as you can see, I can swipe through the week. If I rotate this, I can see a more of a wide screen kind of, if I need to see more days or I just want to see more details of everything. So much better calendar viewing on the app.
Great. We had a couple more questions come in. Someone asked, is there a special Outlook app that they need, or is it just basically what you get from the App Store, the Outlook?
Good question. So for the iOS, it would be the App Store, Outlook, and then on Google, it would be the Play Store.
And then they just put their login credentials, log in that way.
Just like getting Angry Birds or Two Dots or Clash of Clans, whatever the apps you download, is just like that. And they're signed by Microsoft. They are updated frequently. So if you have any question about that,
yeah. And if they, so basically then to set up to link their accounts, just put their information in there when they set up the app, and if they have questions about that, they can call the support center.
Correct. We would prefer you call before, and then we could walk you through it on that. But it's just putting your email address and clicking sign in, and then it asks for your NetID and password. Perfect. So we're trying to kind of streamline that.
Keep it easy. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Someone asked, do you have to be connected to VPN for the contacts to work on your mobile?
Great question. So Exchange 2013, the upgrade, allows us to no longer need a VPN. You do not need to be on campus. You do not need to use a VPN to use any of these products. So for example, let's say you're like, oh yeah, I just want to, I want to just use Outlook on my personal computer because, I'm on vacation, I want to check my email, but I want to be able to use the scheduling assistant. So you can actually load up Outlook, you can be in Bermuda and just connect. There's no VPN needed.
Okay, great. Cool. Someone else asked, basically, can you talk about kind of the benefits versus, why would you use the Outlook app versus connecting your email and calendar directly into your phone?
Okay, so one of the things that we see is flagged items and unread item counts do not get synchronized. Calendar synchronization seems to be flaky. So by using a single app for all of these services, it comes down to a technical coding kind of situation where the developers of the Microsoft Outlook app work so closely with the people who develop the Exchange system that it just is seamless. So, for example, if people use their Gmail on their Mail app, so they have their Gmail account loaded in their Mail app, they'll have some functionality. But if you use the Gmail app with your Gmail account, you're going to see all these little flags and stars and all these little features that aren't existing in the native Mail app.
Got it.
There's so many more benefits, and from a security standpoint, right? We can't really control the mobile device itself, but we can control the Exchange account and the Outlook app. So, got it. Hopefully that answers that.
A couple more questions.
Sure.
Someone asked, do they have to register their device or anything to use it if they download the Outlook app?
They do not. No, no, they do not. All they all need to do is use their NetID and password.
Got it. Okay, and the last question that came in, someone asked, and can you talk a little bit about, because I know we have some Mac users in the audience, why Outlook versus, say, Apple Mail?
Great question. So I go back to, oh boy, I just went through the whole presentation, didn't I?
Sped through that.
Okay. So from a performance standpoint, and I can just swipe over to my Mac here, synchronicity. So I mean, you're going directly. If you look down in the corner here, you see where it says connected to Northwestern. That is a direct connection to the Exchange server with the client. Apple Mail doesn't receive or communicate with the Exchange server in the same way. It comes down to a technicality. It comes down to the technology that brings you the mail. When you use a native, and when I use the word native, it's built by Microsoft. You use a native app for that service, which is mail, you're just going to get a seamless experience. Microsoft's been working really hard to mend this gap between Mac users and Outlook users. One thing I was mentioning to Christina before, when we were prepping for this meeting, is that later down the line, and hopefully Scott doesn't get upset that I'm mentioning this, but we are going to be possibly seeing a voice integration with Skype for Business and Exchange and Jabber, and so
we're looking into the
possibilities, but we want to prepare for the future. So we see that Microsoft has aligned themselves with developing and making it easy to use their products. They want you to use this. This is a recommendation from Microsoft, and that's all it is. We're not saying you have to use it, but try it out.
Yeah.
Try out the new Outlook app. Yeah. Try out the new Mac client and see what you think, because really it's much prettier, I mean, in my opinion, just because it aligns with the brand and all the things that they're doing. But this emphasis on flagged items and this direct access to all of these contacts here. I mean, the address book on Apple doesn't play well with the address book. So there's just a lot of specifics. I could do a whole tech talk on the Mac Outlook. So
yeah. Okay, great. All right, so that's what we've got so far. Okay, great question.
Great, yes, thank you so much. Okay, so let's move on. So that was the brief into the Outlook app. Now, OWA. People say OWA. They'll say OWA, I think. I don't know. There's so many OWA, that's the other way to do it. So here's the link here, collaborate.northwestern.edu, and it has some updates. So I'm going to go over it real quick. So first of all, it looks pretty similar to the other clients, minus the ribbon. And the reason the ribbon is not there is because it is not a full client. It's not running on your computer. It doesn't have connections to your operating system. When you're using Outlook Web App, consider yourself controlling the server for yourself. Not the whole server, but just your server in your mailbox, a direct connection. So one of the features here is Skype in-link availability. May not be able to show that because I am. Okay, so if you were to click up on the top right-hand corner here of O and you click on your name, I'm involved with the voice pilot, so I do not have this functionality, but if you click sign into IM, what you would get is a little green icon next to your name, and you would then be able to do instant messaging directly from the web browser. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show you, but if you want instructions on that, call the support center, try it out yourself. You can just click here, click sign into IM, and you can do real-time link chatting. So more instant messaging functionality there. Let me go back to this. Okay, we see a lot of talk about calendars, shared calendars. When you're in OWA, I would say if you are a Windows user, always use the thick, meaning the thick on your computer, Outlook 2016 client for all your calendar needs. But for the Mac users out there, we would recommend using OWA, and because of just the compatibility and things. So let's go into the calendar, and I can quickly see, these two calendars. I have them meshed together, but you can click on, different people and see the availability. If I wanted to schedule a meeting, you have a scheduling assistant within the browser, which is just amazing. So talk about mobility. Let's say you don't have your computer and you need to quickly schedule this meeting with your boss and folks, you can do it right from the browser. We recommend Firefox. Chrome works well. Microsoft's going to say Internet Explorer and Edge for Windows 10, but Firefox seems to be the best. Okay, so.
We had a couple other questions, and actually one related to OWA. Someone asked about seeing shared calendars or other people's calendars in OWA. Is that possible?
Yeah, so we'll go back to here. And so I close this, discard, and then discard this one. I have 3 people's calendars open right now. Okay. In terms of seeing them side by side in different silos, that isn't a feature. I believe you may have to change something with the settings, but here's my colleague Omar. Here's Marshall. Hopefully, well, they have free busy, so you can't see the details, but the colors indicate whose calendar they are. So if I wanted to schedule a meeting between Omar and I would just find an available spot here, and we'd be good to go. Got it. So, great. Is there any other questions on that?
Okay, and then someone else asked, essentially, can you, on the app, going back to the mobile real quick, Can you use both the Outlook app and the email or calendar as part of your phone?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You will receive double notifications. But yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
So yes,
Yeah. So be aware that you'll get 2 notifications about every email. But yes, in an effort to maybe try it out, that's a very good idea, whoever asked that question. And try it out. Don't delete the other native mail account until you're comfortable with the Outlook app. Great. All right, I'll move on in the interest of time here. So distribution list management. Some folks out there should have distribution lists, and it could be part of your job responsibilities, or maybe it's just something that you want to keep on top of. So this is something that you can edit from OA. So you click on the gear on the previous screen. So let me go back to the web app. Click on the gear, and then if you go to options here, on the left-hand side, you have all sorts of menus. You can go to Organize Mail. This will be for your rules. Groups. Distribution groups that you belong to and distribution groups that you own. So, for example, this is our DSS distribution list. If I double-click on this, it opens up a pop-up. That's another tip. Turn off your pop-up blockers when you use OA.
That's a great tip.
That's another one. And if I go to ownership, you can change the owners of who they are. Here's membership. So if you need to add or remove somebody from this distribution list, you can do so. So I can just go in and find Bello. I'm not going to add you because you're on our team, but you go here and you click OK and you add them. Great. So yes, and if you have any more questions or about that, just contact Support Center, or you can go on the collaboration.
Yeah.
And then also unified messaging options. So in that options menu there, you can edit your phones. I'll also go back here. Sorry, I seem to be having some difficulties, but I'm done with the OA demonstration just because there's no more unified messaging options. If you needed to change text messaging or your voicemail, it's also done through that option screen. Great. So from OA. But that's convenient. All right, moving on. These are from the last time I talked about. I'd just like to reemphasize. In terms of delegation, delegating people's calendars.
Can you just real quick before we get into that, can you explain what that is?
Yeah, sure. So a calendar delegation is, for example, let's take the president. Right? So you have the president, and he has all these hardworking staff working for him, and there's a lead in the team, or there's a director or a manager of some sort, and that person would be responsible for allowing other folks or other collaborators to change the calendar. So delegating is giving someone tasks or allowing them to respond to meetings or to decline meetings or propose different times, request meetings on behalf of that person, respond to emails. There's a different types of options for that. So it's to delegate an identity or a mailbox to somebody.
And if people are in areas where they hadn't heard about this and are interested in setting it up, they can contact the support center, their local IT to talk about it.
And the Collaboration Services group has a page on delegation, and they talk about this, and that's actually where this is from. Have as few as possible. Try to allow only one person at a time to be responsible for this. What we see is groups who have strong team structure where they're all collaborating a lot. If someone responds to one meeting event, let's say on their iPhone, and then someone in the office responds to the same event, there is really no way to set a precedent or priority to those responses. So try and only designate one person. It's like an internal thing. Try to do it from accept or decline them from a single inbox and possibly a single application. So if you work with laptops and your colleagues all have laptops and you're all using Outlook 2016, and you're all using the same version, that's what's recommended. But if someone has a 2013 client and other people have the 2016 client, get them all on the same version. So then if there's a need to troubleshoot or investigate an issue, we would have much better success with that. So yeah, owners and delegates should use the same Outlook versions. And turn off the auto-accept rules for meeting invites. So if you have a resource that's auto-accepting meeting invitations, turn that off. It's always good to have control of that, in case some important meeting conflicts with another one. You don't want both of them to be auto-accepted or one to be declined and that kind of thing. So great. All right. So recurring meetings, something people, the very, proactive and, looking forward people are doing and getting those recurring meetings on the calendar. Try to set end dates. I understand that, there's always a TBD, to be determined. Well, let's just see how this goes, and we'll set an end date later. Try to do it. Try to do it. Maybe have the end date be a year from now, or a month from now. However you're going to do it, but try to set one. If the organizer changes, then you should change the organizer if necessary. For one-time changes, create a new meeting. But if you need to delete the recurring meeting, the recommendation is to go and change the end date. So I can do that and demonstrate that here. So if I come to calendar meeting, and let's say I create a meeting, test meeting, and this recurrence button here. Schedule this item to recur. As you can see, this is by default here.
And that's what they should change. Okay.
Change it either to occurrences or the end dates. And the reason we're suggesting this is because if the recurrence needs to change or you need to delete it, you have the control and you'll know, okay, after this date it doesn't exist, so I'll delete everything before or after these.
And actually the next slide in the PowerPoint, we have some best practices, kind of the time frame.
Correct.
I'll also mention too with that recurring meetings, I think there have been instances where people set a recurring meeting that has no end date. They leave the university, and it's a challenge to get that recurring meeting off of people's schedules. If you only have it set out for the next month or two, you can kind of deal with.
Yeah, and that happens. I mean, it's just a way, but a good recommendation to go on that point is to that second point. Change the organizer. So, the people who, the director level and executive level, they're not going to want to worry about this. But if there's a designated person or set of people that can always be the organizers, then you know that that's not going to maybe happen one day when they leave. But yes, set recurring meetings based on length guidelines. So so this next slide here shows the different types of meetings and the recurrence and our recommended number of instances. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, if it's 2 months long, do an 8, 3 months, 6. If it's a birthday or an anniversary or something, don't use a meeting. Put that as just an appointment for yourself. People tend to make meetings for everything and then don't have attendees, and then the exchange system doesn't understand that you're just doing it as an appointment. So be more specific. Use appointments when you don't need attendees, or if they're like reminders. Yeah.
Someone asked, while we're kind of talking about meetings, someone asked about giving permissions for calendars in Outlook 2016. Can you just go real quickly through that process?
Definitely. Yeah, I can definitely do that. So I always try to use the Windows version here. So in the calendar, I'm going to share my calendar to you. Interesting, okay? There's 2 ways to do this. The focal point of these products should always be the ribbon, because you can do pretty much everything not look through the ribbon. You see this blue and green people here, click share, and you want to make sure that the calendar that you want to share is there.
And they just added an addendum. Is this process pretty similar for Macs, or is it a different process? Because they're actually on, they had trouble giving permissions using Outlook 2011.
That is okay, because 2011, I would definitely recommend going to 2016, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay. So go to calendar, down at the bottom here.
And so this is the Mac.
This is the Mac version. We're doing the Mac right now. And the way to know if it's Mac, which is kind of interesting, is the Macs put these weird calendar categories in here, but this is my calendar. I have all my meetings with no categories. This is a Mac only. You wouldn't see this on OA or on the Windows version, so just be aware of that. But just like the ribbon, instead of the 2 people, I got a little key up there. Okay. Click on that, and there you go. You got your whole list of people. Now, as I mentioned, there's some intermittent issues with the Mac client at times, you're dealing with Apple, Microsoft, use OA. OA will be your best friend, and it's not loading for me because I'm having technical issues. But the same concept would be in there where you would right-click or go to Calendar Permissions. See, I can do sharing permissions and do it from OA. So if you're a Mac user, I would use OA. It just doesn't work.
I think you also just got to convert to 2016.
Oh, great. Good. Contact the Support Center if you need assistance with that, because we would love to help you out. So,
great.
All right.
And I'll just mention real quick, we're getting close to the end of the presentation. I know we kind of scheduled this for 45 minutes. We're going to continue. People need to step out. As we said, we're recording this. So we do have this available for people to watch later. We also have a second session next week. Same content if people want to attend again or share this. But I just wanted to throw that in.
Sure. Yeah, it's only going to be probably another 2 minutes or so. Some general recommendations. Always try to respond to your calendar invites from something other than a mobile device. Your computer, use OA if needed, but try not to do it if you're using the native mail. Don't use that. Use OA or use an Outlook app. Okay. Place your folders outside of the inbox. I can show a demonstration of that real quick.
Yes, I think most people, I actually didn't until we talked about this the last presentation we did. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, so if you go into folders and if you create a new folder, you want to be able to put that on the outside. Now it looks like you would want to do it in OA or the Windows version, so let's go to Windows. And if I go to...
And what's the benefit of doing this?
Of doing...
Putting the folders outside of...
Good question. By putting the folders outside of the inbox, it allows the collaboration services team to better restore mail. If a mailbox, let's say you lost an email or something in one of these subfolders, and there's been instances where there's been catastrophic issues, and I use that, I'm emphasizing the word catastrophic, where it's like you can't do your job because you need this email. We can put a request into the collaboration services team. They can restore your mailbox. But if you do it outside, so as you see this new folder, it's not inside of the inbox. This, if you said, oh, it was in this folder, then they can just restore this folder. They don't have to restore the entire inbox. So hopefully that answers that question. Keep your Outlook up to date. Can't emphasize that enough. Coming from a desktop specialist, always do updates. If you're weary about updates, and you don't know if what you're being presented with is legitimate, call the Support Center. They'll be able to remote in, take a look, and show you. Final tip, to you Mac users out there, please do not use Apple Mail. I know that there are some, very loyal Apple people. I'm one of them. Trust me. I have everything Apple. I'm going for an Apple Watch. I've got the iPhone, iPad, everything. But I do not use Apple Mail for exchange. I can't. It's not productive. I'm an early adopter, but I can't do that. So Outlook 2016 is stable enough for Mac users. So here's the online resources. I'll leave it with this. There's the collaboration services page. If you have any questions about delegation, calendar sharing, mail sharing, anything with that, no behaviors and recommendations are there, and you've got some support tools for your calendar.
Someone else asked, can you see folders in OA?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I just can actually briefly open that up. So let's see. Go to Firefox. I'll open it back up for you, only because I love you all over there in the interwebs. Okay. You can also go to mail.northwestern.edu if that's something. Great. So someone asked about the folders. So I created that new folder. It's right there. So I can see my subfolders in my inbox as well. Yeah. So, but surprisingly enough, the functionality of OA is pretty good. Yeah. I actually know some customers that don't even use Outlook. Yeah. They just use OA.
Their desktop client.
Yeah, because they like the reliability and the synchronicity. Yeah. It's just so quick.
Yeah, and it looks the same across everything. It functions the same no matter what you're using. Yeah, it's quite nice.
So with that note, thank you. And if you guys
any other questions, I'll give people a chance to ask any other questions. And we'll wrap up with a couple quick poll questions, get your feedback on today's event. And first question is, did you learn something new during today's event? And I personally love these because I always learn something new. There's always some new trick or tip, and I'm actually planning to upgrade to 2016 Winter Today now. So that there were a lot of great features with that I was not aware of, so that's really helpful. So again, we always hope you learn something new. If there's anything else you're interested in hearing about or a tip you heard about that you want to share, and actually we got some good comments as well. All right, and actually, Brian, we had a question come in. Someone asked, I think on one of those the best practices for calendaring, not adding attachments to Outlook calendars. Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, well, this would be a perfect opportunity to utilize Box. If you have a need to attach files to a recurring meeting event, just put a Box hyperlink. Put the Box link to the file. Not only does that reduce the size of the object, like the meeting in the database, because you have attachment, you get real-time collaboration. If somebody decides to edit that minutes before the meeting occurs, it's there. There's no need to send that meeting out again. I mean, we see people, they'll add attachments, click update, and then everybody gets an update. You know, and use the Box hyperlinks. Try to familiarize yourself with Box, because it's great. I mean, I can't praise it enough. I really think that it's a very revolutionary tool in the workplace. But you know, because it's not Dropbox and Google Drive, and you know, it's just the branding is different. But you know, we really think that Box is the way to solve those issues.
We're big fans. Okay, so then the next question that we popped into the poll here is asking if you plan to apply any of the information you learned at today's event, whether that's upgrading to 2016, any of the email or calendar tips we talked about, calendar delegation. So yeah, again, we hope you learned something new. I'll give people a moment to answer that question. And all right, so we have a follow-up to the question I just asked you, Brian. Okay, so essentially they're looking, can you put, so if they have an email that they want to share with people in a meeting, what's the best way to do that?
So it's an email that they've attached by going to attach item and attach email. Okay, my recommendation for that is print the email to a PDF or convert the email to a PDF. If you don't know how to do that, contact the support center. But what you do is if there's any type of file that you would like to share, convert it into a PDF and put it on Box. Or you could attach the email file itself, which would be .eml file. You can put that on Box, right? But the benefit of the PDF is that it's a readable format. Everybody knows PDFs are very supportable document format. That's what it stands for. So it's easy to read. So make it a PDF and then attach it through a Box link.
Okay. And again, if people have any questions, Catherine, if you have any questions about that specifically, you can contact the support center, contact us, and we'll help you through that. And so just real quick, last question, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate today's event? 5 being very satisfied. And again, we always want your feedback. If there's anything we can do to improve these events, do let us know. Again, we know you take some time out of your day to attend these, and we want to make sure you think they're worthwhile. And with that, I will, I'll give people one more moment to answer that question. Let's see here. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions come in. All right. Great. Looks like everyone was rather satisfied. And again, any comments, let us know. We're happy to make adjustments as well. So to get a copy of the PowerPoint that Brian went through, you can download this PDF file here, click download files. It'll open up in a web browser window for you, and you can download that. As I mentioned, we're doing this event again because we had such a large number of people register. We're doing this event again next week. The information's on the Tech Talk webpage. If you want to register or share this event with a colleague, we're also recording today's event and we'll be sharing the link to the recording with everyone as well there. And with that, I want to say thank you, Brian, for a great presentation. And thank you all for attending today, and have a great afternoon. Let's hope it doesn't rain.